The Pew Research Center defines political polarization as the vast and growing gap between liberals and conservatives, such as Republicans and Democrats, and is a defining feature of American politics today. More importantly, political polarization has been affecting our country nationwide. It has grown I would say, in the past decade, and according to a study on Pew Research Center from 1994 to 2014, the gap between Republicans and Democrats that used to be more moderates have grown. So that's very important to keep track of, meaning that the polarization in the country is growing. And I wanted to know if it had to do with social media, if social media played any role in it in the growing political polarization. I think it's really important to note that social media has been a growing part of everyone's everyday life, and now since we could get news online, which we don't really know if it's reputable, if it has sources or not, that it could influence how we think and how we communicate with others, which could be a good thing, but also can be a really bad thing, as we have seen with the growing polarization and the growing debate in our country about the social media and politics in social media. So I wanted to focus on interviewing a group of like 17, 18-year-olds and a group of, I would say, like 45 and older adults, and get their input on social media, if they use it, if they believe that's grown to more polarized political climate, and if it was due to this that our country is going to keep increasing our polarization. This is Myra. She's a 17-year-old Asian moderate leaning towards Democrat, who is a part of the lower middle class. Do you participate on voicing your political opinion on social media? Why or why not?
I don't. I see it more so of just a way for me to get my news. But if there is something major that I think is important to kind of show other people, then I will post on my account.
And do you feel safe or comfortable voicing your political opinion? Why?
I just feel like the people who follow me on my account, well, on social media specifically, are all, it's my opinion, and if I want them to know it, I'm just gonna post it. But even so, I feel like as long as you voice your opinion in kind of an appropriate manner, there's no reason for anyone to get mad about it.
So do you believe your opinion is respected?
Maybe if not agreed with, but still respected.
Do you think the political conversations that are had on social media are very one-sided?
I feel like a lot of times there are, because people tend to follow groups that they align with. So a lot of people only follow liberal groups or only conservative accounts, and I feel like in that terms it's a lot of one-sided conversation with only one type of opinion.
And do you think that they always state their sources? Do you believe that they are reputable?
I think a lot of times they aren't. So if you're not careful to follow reputable accounts, a lot of times there's a lot of misinformation on social media.
And how much fake news do you see?
Oh, well, I mean, I don't always fact check all of it, but sometimes I'll just see stuff and it's just completely ridiculous. I'm just there's no way that could be true.
Do you think it's from both parties or just one?
Definitely both. I see it on all accounts.
And last question, do you believe social media has led to a more polarized political climate?
I would say it kind of just tends to keep people in line with the same ideology they believe in. So I feel like people tend to only focus on certain opinions and don't broaden their horizons, try to see the other side. And I feel like social media kind of just feeds into that. This is Froden, an 18-year-old white moderate, a part of the middle class.
Do you feel safe or comfortable with voicing your political opinion?
Sometimes. I'd say overall it's pretty easy to voice your opinion, but it depends on the people you're with. Some are more polarizing than others.
Do you believe your political opinion is respected if posted on social media?
I'm a moderate, so usually it's pretty respected by both sides, but not overall. There's some cases where I have more extreme views that aren't always respected or don't always line up with others.
Do you think the political conversations that are had on social media are very one-sided?
If you find a good conversation, it's not always one-sided, but currently I'd say it's very one-sided because just the way that it's structured currently, where you have identity politics, where you just believe one side more than the other, and I feel like that's just counterproductive in general.
And do you think that they always state their sources, and if they do, are they reputable?
No, sources are rarely ever cited on social media, and if they are, they're most likely not reputable.
And how much fake news do you see? And do you see it from both parties or mainly just one?
I don't really get a lot of fake news. I think the thing with fake news is you have to be pretty extreme to get a lot of it, because with the algorithms and stuff on social media, with algorithms on social media and stuff, the more extreme you are, you'll get pushed in one direction harder, and you'll be called, like, almost quarantined into where you only receive fake news.
And lastly, has social media led to a more polarized political climate?
I'd say so, definitely, because especially with like the algorithms on social media, like Instagram and Facebook, you get like a group of like-minded individuals that only like make a cesspool of like negative opinions sometimes. Yeah, so overall, yeah, I'd say more polarized opinions. Throughout my interviews, I would just like to say that I noticed that there were a large group of moderates, that people were more less inclined to pick Republican or Democrat, which I think is because it's so hard for people to choose one side when it seems to be two extremes. So people would rather classify themselves as a moderate, meet in the middle, so they're more accepted. This is Kathleen Prinzo, a 53-year-old Caucasian moderate, a part of the middle class.
So you see no political posts on social media?
None.
Why don't you participate on voicing your political opinion on social media?
I don't see anything good coming out of social media. Even our current president, he uses a lot of social media, and it creates more hate and more opposition.
But if you were to voice your opinion, would you feel safe or comfortable with it?
No.
Why not?
Because I feel like you're not allowed to disagree with anyone anymore. Like, we're known for being democratic, which means everybody should be able to voice their opinion, but once you voice yours, everybody will go against you.
Do you believe that social media has led to a more polarized political climate?
Definitely.
Explain.
People find it much easier to attack each other through social media than in person. So I think if you put those same people in a room together, they would be much more compromising.
Yeah.
Good platform to
This
have
is
an honest,
Henry Salas, a 47-year-old
Feel
Hispanic
safe or
male,
comfortable with voicing your political
who is a
opinion
moderate,
if
a
you
part of the
have
middle
social media?
class.
That's also something that is, I think, it is concerning. It depends on what the topic is, but there could be negative impacts um, on oneself depending on one's opinion. And I can say that I wouldn't feel comfortable voicing my honest opinion because it may impact, my job. It could impact other parts of my life. So I don't think that it is it is a secure way, because things can be taken out of context.
Would you believe your opinion would then be respected?
I doubt that. I doubt that it would be respected.
Do you think the political conversations that are had on social media are very one-sided?
For
Would
the
you
most
believe?
part, yes. I believe they're one-sided. I believe they're also they also tend to be polarizing, because people like that. It's a way to get attention and to create clicks, which ultimately that's how these social media companies are gaining their income, is on traffic, right? So I think there's reasons why these behaviors are happen, and why they're accepted, and they're not really controlled.
Do you believe that political posts on social media state their sources, and if so, would they be reputable? Or do you highly doubt that they state sources?
I'm not sure. I think that they've made some commitments to improve and kind of combat this whole fake accounts that are created. But for the most part, I don't. I think that's the bigger problem with the amount of media, and not only in social media, but in the internet in general. Since I would say the mid '90s and early 2000s, where really the information um, um, took off on the internet, I would say that it's important to really understand where the information is coming from, the source, and the reasons behind the information that these people are posting, because typically there's agendas that are associated to them, and if you want to maintain an objective train of thought, then you have to understand the background of the data. Um, that's my opinion.
Now, lastly, do you think that social media has led to a more polarized political climate? Why or why not?
I think it has, again, because people um, tend to use these platforms to either benefit themselves, to either create more, like I said, clicks on their content, or have more friends, or more followers, etc., depending on the platform. So I think creating that conflict does attract people, and it also pushes some people back. But I think it creates a more of a polarizing environment. It does not help the it's not a good platform to have an honest debate, so to speak.
Now, I included examples of popular posts that would be found on either Republican or Democrat social media accounts, which I thought would be useful. And in a study conducted by Harvard University, focused on Twitter, it was found that politicians with extreme ideologies generally attracted a larger public audience than their moderate peers. According to the National Academy of Sciences of the United States of America, there has been a slight increase in liberal attitudes after following a conservative Twitter bot, which meaning that after a robot Twitter account posting more conservative Republican views onto Twitter, if people see it on their feed and they're more moderate or Democrat or in between, they're gonna have more liberal attitudes after seeing that extremely conservative post. In conclusion, my opinion on if social media has led to a more polarized political climate, with all the research I have read and also with all the interviews that I've conducted, it seems clear as day that it has led to a more polarized political climate because of the content that's being posted. For example, as we saw on the few pictures that I uploaded from Instagram and Twitter that are political posts, they have no sources and they're catered to one specific group. I feel like social media and news, with it being so catered to two extremes, leads for those two groups to continue to grow as the moderates and the people in the middle um, lack anything catered to directly to them, because it's not how it's based and that's not what's wanted on social media. That's not what you see. You just see things on two ends of the spectrum continuing to rise, continuing to grow. So I feel like that's why you see a lot more hate and it's a lot harder to talk to people because you're not talking to anybody who sees eye to eye to you that's in the middle. You're talking to people on two opposite ends, and no one's going to want to have a conversation over social media. I find it very easy to have my opinion to be respected if we're talking face to face, because I feel like it's a lot harder for people to disrespect you in that sense. But online, people tend to not care, and it becomes a problem when people stop to respect others' opinions and people don't feel comfortable with voicing their opinion, because we want a society that is politically active, but social media gives us a way to be politically active, but at the same time is hurting our politics because of how polarized it is. It doesn't allow for a conversation to be had because you're not going to change overnight. But I feel like as a country, obviously, but also as a city, a town, a town, like as a community, like as UCBTS, as students, just as citizens, I feel like we need to do our own part in respecting other people's opinions on social media and realizing how dangerous polarization can become in the future for our country.